Okay, so we're in exercise 9D and we're doing question 4, which reads, in a survey of 100 university students, a market research company found that 70 students owned smartphones, 45 owned cars, and 35 owned smartphones and cars. Use a Venn diagram to help you answer the following questions. And here are the questions. But before we get stuck into these questions, let's create our Venn diagram. So we have two categories here. We have smartphones and we have cars. So I've drawn two circles here. So here we're going to write SP for smartphone, and here we're going to write C for car. Now, the very first piece of information we're going to put down is the fact that 35 own smartphones and cars. So 35 is going to exist in the intersection space. So I could go smartphones intersection of cars is going to equal 35. Now let's look at our smartphone circle. So we know that inside this circle there needs to exist 70 people. We already have 35 here, so that means in the smartphone only space we're going to have 35, because 35 plus 35 is 70. Now we're going to come to our car circle, and we know that we need 45 in the car circle, and we already have 35 in the smartphone and car area in the intersection space. So in the car only area we're going to have 10, because 10 plus 35 is going to be 45. Now, in order to figure out what's going to be on the outside here, what we need is to figure out what our smartphone, the union of my car, is going to be. Now, when I've got it into my Venn diagram form, it's really quite easy to tell. All I need to do is 35 plus 35 is 70 plus 10 is 80. I just need to plus them all together. But let's say I didn't have my Venn diagram with me. How could I do it? And this is a big deal in this 9D chapter, because we learned something called the addition rule, which, as you can see, is here, which tells us that the number of my union of A and B will be A plus B minus the intersection point. So let's see if we can use this rule in order to figure out my union of smartphones and cars. So let's say that A is my SP group, and let's say B is my car group. So we know that there are 70 people in my smartphone group, and we know that there's 45 people in my car group, and we're going to minus the intersection, which is 35. So that's going to be 70 plus 45 is going to be 115, minus 35 is going to be equal to 80. So as you can see here, we arrive at our same answer as we did when we just plussed them all together. And now that we know that the union is 80, we can figure out what's going to be on our outside. We know that there are 100 university students all together, so therefore to find out what's going to be on the outside is going to be 100 minus 80, which is going to be equal to 20. A way we could otherwise write this is that it's my union, C, but it's the complement to it, everything outside of it. So it will be 20. So you wouldn't write 100 minus 80, you just write 20 there. Perfect. So now that we've filled out my Venn diagram, we ask ourselves now, how many students owned neither a car nor a smartphone? So neither a car nor a smartphone. And the way we can do that is simply going, all right, well, if they own neither, it won't be anything here. It won't be here at all. It will be on my outside. It will be 20. So my answer to 4A will be 20. Next, B. How many students owned either a car or a smartphone, but not both? Well, how many kids owned only a car? 10 students owned only a car. And how many students owned only a smartphone? Well, that would be 35. So 35 own only a smartphone, 10 own only a car. If we plus those together, we get 45. So 45 students owned either a car or a smartphone, but not both. So that's going to be my answer to 4B. So it's going to be 45 for B, 20 for A. I hope this was helpful.